Spoiler warning for everything through Battleground because why not? Wizard Montjoy is someone that the Dresden Files fans have forgotten about, even though he was mentioned a couple times early on in the series. In Summer Night, he was absent from the White Council meeting where Ebenezer McCoy became a senior council member because he was on a research trip to the Yucatan. And Mortimer Lindquist mentions that the Red Court has a high population in the Yucatan Peninsula to Harry on the set of the Larry Fowler Show in the beginning of the book Death Masks. We don't hear much about him after that, but given that the Red Court likes to hang out at this destination, Wizard Montjoy picked a terrible time to go on a research trip. Or did he? I did some digging and found some theories that make seemingly throwaway characters much more interesting and possibly important to late-game Dresden Files shenanigans. Let's start out with some things that we know, and then we'll extrapolate into some tinfoil hat theories. In Summer Night, Book 4 of the Dresden Files, the name Peabody calls out first is Wizard Montjoy. And Martha Liberty tells everybody that he's on a research trip to the Yucatan. If you go back to that meeting, the Merlin directed that the empty spot on the senior council be filled by the senior-most wizard in attendance at the meeting. Since the power of wizards seems to scale with age, we can assume that Wizard Montjoy is very old and a very powerful wizard. If you look on a map, you can also see that Chichen Itza is on the Yucatan Peninsula. So now we have this super old and powerful wizard chilling in the backyard of the place that changes happens, where the Red Court tried to take out Harry's family and ended up getting decimated themselves. We also have a senior council member knowing he is there, and all the other senior council members being publicly okay with that. In fact, nobody voices any sort of concern that he's down there. So, what was Wizard Montjoy doing there? Wizard Montjoy could be a good guy here. Montjoy could have been collecting intel on the Red Court for the White Council, and because Martha Liberty didn't make a big deal about it, nobody else worried. Since the late Simon Petrovic was the Council's expert on Red Court vampires, it makes sense that the White Council would need more insight on them after his demise. Montjoy was like a good guy, or at least team wizard. His trip was meant to help the cause and support the Merlin's plan in the conflict. There's been some discussion online on if the Merlin was using Harry the entire time to take out the Red Court. He always has a plan, a backup plan, and an ace in the hole. Langtry also has made a comment about getting rid of the Red Court root and stem, which is basically what happened when Harry turned their bloodline curse against them at the end of Changes. One theory that I came across was that the Merlin and Langtry, or one of his minions, set the events of Changes in motion. You know, just to draw Dresden into play to save his daughter. If Dresden hadn't had to save Maggie, he wouldn't have taken up the Winter Mantle or assembled a team to barge into a Red Court ritual at a place with that much power. It was reckless, but the conflict with the Red Court had all but taken out the White Council wizards, and they needed to end things quickly before they completely got wiped out. So knowing how things go on in Changes, it makes sense that the White Council would have someone powerful as hell sent there to do a little bit of research on the enemy to gather enough information to plan on just what they could do to win. It's also great foreshadowing to Changes without making things too obvious on the first read, though. Nobody, outside of maybe the senior council, knew that this particular archaeological site was that important to the Red Court. But it's still in the Red Court's territory. The lack of concern over the research trip's location can also be explained away by Peabody's influence clouding everybody's judgment. Martha Liberty may or may not have been involved since she's the one who provided Montjoy's excuse. In my video on Summer Night, link in the description, I talked about how Martha offered Harry relief, much like Aurora did, and how that makes me suspect that she's infected, but now I'm getting off topic. On the other hand, the wizards always seem to be politically motivated, and it also makes sense that Montjoy might want to just stay out of public eye for one reason or another. And a research trip is a good cover to be like, hey, I had better things to do with my time. Thank you very much. I'm starting to sound like my college professors with that. You know who you are. As Harry enters the theater where the meeting is being held, he says that it's the first council meeting that he's ever been to. It's possible that it was decided to send Montjoy on this mission at the last meeting, making her public statement on his whereabouts only be news to Dresden, and thus news to us. All the wizards more senior than McCoy seem to be conveniently away. This could mean that they too were on council business before a seat on the senior council became available, especially the one with the pyramid sitting. At first I thought that guy might be in Egypt, but now I think he might have been keeping an eye on Chichen Itza. The wardens attending the meeting seem to be very relieved when McCoy makes it on the council. And since we now know that he used to be the captain of the wardens and is currently the Blackstaff, they probably weren't willing to fight with him on this issue. I don't like to fight people that I know can beat me up. There's also much simpler reasons for why he went on this trip when he did. He could also be a regular old wizard who's influenced to go on a research trip in order to be away from the White Council meeting, and thus miss the opportunity to take the seat on the senior council. But when you speculate on if this is a secret bad guy or not, the simple answers become much less fun. I told you, it was going to be a tinfoil hat day. Now we have to consider if Wizard Montjoy was a bad guy. He could have betrayed the White Council in exchange for knowledge or favor with the Red Court. And he might be Black Council, and we just don't realize it yet. We know that Ortega was the one who planned the attack at Archangel that led to the end of Simon Petrovic, and many other wizards. The Merlin used this event to try to get support for turning Harry Dresden over to the Red Court at the time of the meeting, meant to choose Petrovic's replacement on the Senior Council. Petrovic was also the White Council's Red Court vampire expert, so this attack makes sense strategically. He was also somebody that Ebenezer McCoy thought would side with him to keep Harry on the council, and he was also Justin Dumourne's mentor, ironically. It was suspected that the attack was a betrayal, like someone had given Ortega information about Archangel that made it all possible, or literally let the Red Court vampires in. Lafortier's demise in Turncoat is suspected to be brought on in a similar way, which we now know as being someone controlled by Peabody's influence. Given the geography of the situation and the overlapping time frame / perceived power level of Petrovic and Montjoy, it's possible that Montjoy was meeting with the vampires and sold Petrovic out. It's also possible that Montjoy was infected or under Peabody's control, and that's why he did it. I don't think that Wizard Montjoy being the first name called means that he was necessarily working with Peabody. The procedure is very clear that all the wizards that are old must be asked to join the Senior Council in the order of how old they are. So him being the eldest wizard not on the Senior Council makes him be the person that everybody would expect to be called first. Another dark Montjoy theory is that he could be Cal. Now, Montjoy is not a frontrunner for the identity of Cal, and I have some videos on Cal coming out later. I'll link them in the description when I finally get around to doing them. So we're just going to save that topic for another day. If you like what I do, please hit the subscribe button and join the caffeination. We'd love to have you. I post bookish videos whenever I can get around to it because I'm a busy adult with many important things to do. Get your pet spayed and neutered. Like, share, subscribe on all your social media. And if you think I suck at this, leave me a comment down below and I'll try to suck better next time. Bye.